Hello, welcome. I'm Peter, and this is the Scottish Flute Channel, the channel for all things traditional flute and whistle playing in Scotland. And today I am in Stonehaven Town Hall because this weekend it's the Stonehaven Folk Festival. A fantastic festival. By the time you watch this, it will probably all be over, but there's always next year. This year, however, we have a number of flute players up for the festival, and foremost amongst them is Nuala Kennedy. Welcome, Nuala.
Hi, Peter. Great to be here.
Okay, so I've seen you perform before, just the once. So I'm
that here?
That was in Edinburgh for that house concert for one of the Flute Fling events.
The Flute Fling, yeah.
Yeah, and that was a fantastic night. Really, it was a very intimate space.
Yeah, great place.
But it's superb as a result.
Yeah, lovely warm atmosphere. Yeah, great vibe down there.
And I believe was there an Italian flute player as well, a gentleman?
Oh yeah, Michel, his name is, Michel Ballatti.
Right.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine from Italy. Great player, great flute player, amazing.
A really interesting contrast to styles that night.
Yeah, fun to play with him too. Like he's great crack altogether. Yeah.
But I'm getting ahead of myself as usual. So, back to you. You are obviously from Ireland.
Yeah.
You grew up in Dundalk, is that right? Mm-hmm. Which I believe is just north of Dublin.
Yeah, just north of Dublin and just 10 miles south of the border with the north. And it's a nice town. There was plenty of music growing up. And I played a bit of whistle. Mm-hmm. And then my mother grew up in Belfast, very close to where Sam Murray, the flute maker, lived. Mm-hmm. And they would have kind of known each other from the neighbourhood. So cut to like years later, and one day my dad came back with a flute that he got from Sam up in Belfast. And he said, "You're joining the Cayley band, the local Cayley band." And I said, "Okay." And never looked back, really. So,
fantastic. And was that just, you didn't have a forethought of that, or you hadn't expressed an interest in the flute? Or?
Not really. I remember, because I loved playing piano, and I was playing piano in the Cayley band, and I think maybe the Brendan Cochran, who was running it, had this idea that I would upgrade. I don't know why piano players weren't seen as being like, it was like you want to...
They're like musicians, but different. Yeah.
I know. So I think it might have come from Brendan. Why doesn't she play the flute? Because I could play the whistle already. And I got a lesson from the late Peg McGrath, who was one of the she was a wonderful flute player, a lovely woman. But she died in an awful car accident, with a lorry accident in Dundalk. And otherwise, I suppose I would have had a few more lessons with Peg, but in the absence of a teacher, I just got on with it myself. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of tried to transfer the knowledge I had from playing the whistle and, persevere with trying to blow into the flute until I could.
There's a lot of crossover, of course. With a simple system flute.
There is. It's just your embouchure, and I mean, with enough effort, even the untutored can manage it if I have anything to go by.
Well, I think yes, you have to have a goal or a sound in mind to strive for.
You hit the nail on the head, in fairness, because Patrick Conway was playing in the Cayley band, playing flute, and I loved the way that he played and the sound he got out of the flute. So I had something to aspire to. It took me a few years before I could get a good sound out of my instrument, but eventually. I remember the day that I felt, I'm playing it. I couldn't hear it because, of course, it was a Cayley band and everyone, the noise, but I could feel that the instrument was responding. And,
that's really interesting, because you sometimes think it's a gradual process, but there are step changes.
Oh yeah, definitely. There was definitely a moment of kind of, wow, this is working now.
Okay, good. So that was quite a bit of effort going from the whistle to the flute, but definitely rewarding.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I never changed then. I just kept going with the flute then.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So that was just called the Ceilidh Band, wasn't it?
Ceoltóirí Óga Óriala.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the young musicians of Oriel. So Oriel is an old kingdom of Ireland from the earlier divisions.
Okay.
So our Dundalk and Louth and South Armagh, North Meath and even bits of Fermanagh would be included in that. It was quite a big region, the Oriel region. And in fact, we had great historical links with Scotland. So my great friend and musical comrade Jerry O'Connor has done some research into that and put out a book of the dance music of that area. And in that collection, there are many pipe tunes and tunes that you can identify as definitely Scottish pipe tunes. So we had great fun looking through that. And by then I was living in Scotland. I'd been living here for nearly half my life again at that point.
Wow. Okay.
So it was really rewarding to see that connection of where I had started playing and then where I was living now, and kind of have a line kind of connecting those two areas in terms of music.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Because you came across to study, was it music you came to study in
No, I actually had stopped playing. I mean, I left the flute at home when I came here. I was really into art, and I went to Edinburgh College of Art.
Ah, okay.
I studied ceramics and art history, and but one fateful night I went into the Tron Cayley House and I met the late Peter Boone.
Oh, right, yes.
And
From
got chatting to
Colbeg
him.
fame.
From Colbeg, yeah. And sure, we were chatting away, and there was great music. I think the Wrigley sisters were playing with Simon Toomere. And I remember loving the music so much and getting chatting to Peter, and he's told me the names of all these bars that had music. So this was like the late 90s. And I went into Sandy Bell's one night, and after my art college day was finished, and I worked quite late then, like I really loved making things. So I went into Sandy Bell's and I got my beverage at the bar, and I was relaxing up there, and then I saw there was a tin whistle, and Harry Lawson was playing there, the piper. And he says, sure, why don't you give us a tune on the whistle? And I played a couple of tunes, and they were all very welcoming and encouraged me to come back and play again. And then before Christmas, I was due to go back for my Christmas holidays at home on the boat on Stonehaven from Stranraer. Harry said to me, why don't you get your flute when you go home? And he gave me the best advice, because he used to say to me, don't bring the whistle, just bring the flute, leave the whistle at home. So I listened to him, and it was good advice.
Yeah, well, the whistle does cut through in a session quite well, but it's quite shrill.
Yeah, sometimes a bit too much.
yes. If you're just not quite sure of the tune, yeah. Oh, fantastic. So, so do you think your style developed in Edinburgh, or?
I think really it did, yeah, because I had all the kind of basics of flute playing, and I had a solid foundation in Irish music because of playing in the Ceilidh Band. I had a good repertoire of all that. So my base was really strongly in Dundalk. But I was 18 when I came to Edinburgh, and I think I was still forming, like, as a musician, and what is it to play. And it just astounds me when I see these younger musicians who are just incredible, and they're like, they're teenagers. And I was definitely still kind of trying to work out how to play the flute and what to do, but mostly I really wanted to play with other people and play Scottish tunes and be able to play all that repertoire. I was really interested in that and inspired by the players I heard. I wanted to just fit in. I wanted to be able to play a session with those people and to keep up, So I tried to adapt, I suppose. I mean, when I look back, I think it wasn't really a conscious thing that I was doing, but all I wanted to do was blend. And all the people I was playing with were a lot of Scottish fiddle players.
Yes, okay.
So I'm trying to blend with a Scottish fiddle playing style for years, for like nearly my life again. And I remember the time came when I was in my mid-30s and I thought, I've now been in Scotland longer than I've been in Ireland, like that I spent at home. So all my second half of my life at that point, I had been playing with mostly Scottish fiddle players as a melody player, and trying to I mean, when I look back now, when I hear my flute sounds, I think, yeah, that sounds like a double stop on the bow, or this sounds like there's little cuts, or I cut from below a lot of the time in the grace notes. And I know, having spent time teaching Irish players now, you know, that there's certain things about my playing that are more Scottish, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be able to share those with students. And you know, next week I'll be teaching in the States, and a lot of people, you know, most flute players are influenced from Irish players, but there's definitely a kind of a Scottish vibe, I think.
No, that's interesting, because sometimes up here in the frozen north, we think of particularly the Glasgow sessions as being very Irish influenced, a lot of Irish tunes, and to an extent the Edinburgh ones as well, because I suppose we had that break in our tradition from different from in Ireland, where it was more continuous. And I think in some ways it's stronger for it, but obviously with a lot of people going back and forth, a lot of Irish music came into particularly the Central Belt.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to hear your view then that you're still hearing a lot of Scottish music.
Yeah, little thing, like I remember going back to Ireland when I was on tour. I was in my early 20s, and somebody saying to me, "Where did you learn to play like that? How come you play like that?" You know, so, and same with my accent. They'd be saying, "Oh, you sound so Scottish." I'm like, I can't hear it, but you know, there's got to be influences from wherever you are, you know, and especially if you stay there long enough. And you know, I was listening to the musicians around me, and that's how I learned, and that's how I continue to evolve, and that's how I kind of experience a lot of music even now today. It's always like live with people in the room. You know, I didn't spend a lot of time listening to recordings. I didn't have a teacher. I didn't study things from that angle. It was just more like in the moment, in the room, just making music with people, and that connection, that kind of like personal connection with the tunes.
You probably end up a much more robust player in terms of your capabilities and your ability to deal with new tunes and new situations because of that.
Maybe, I don't know, but that's just been the way it's been for me, you know. But I think, like, historically, you know, some of the old songs, the Gaelic songs from Scotland, from the Western Isles, they mention Newry, which is 10 miles north of where I grew up. You know, and these kind of like, there was a lot of back and forth then when travel was by boat. And so a lot of the music did go, you know, there was definite sharing of music, even as far back as a few hundred years. Maybe a lot more fluidity. And then, like you say, happening again with this kind of, like, there's a lot of people Irish people down in Glasgow, and you know.
Oh, good. So, because you were in Edinburgh a long time, and you started to come to the fore yourself as well, though, because you were in a trio, Fine Friday, I believe. To start with, and then you started doing more solo recordings, from what I can tell. Was that?
Yeah, I kind of. So everyone was playing in lots of different lineups, and it just became. I remember Norman Chalmers, you know, concertine playing. He's playing flute too, and he said you should make your own CD. Yeah, he was really interested in flutes. Great character. He gave me good advice too. He was like, you should make your own record, because then you have more flexibility, you know, for touring and for playing, and to be able to go and do concerts and things. I said, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So that's when I made the new shoes in 2007. And since then, so tomorrow is actually the release of my 5th solo record. Well, solo, but with great musicians, you know. And I'm playing, and funny enough that you mentioned Fine Friday, because I feel like it's kind of come full circle now, because I'm touring quite a bit in trio now with Tara Breen on fiddle and Tony Byrne on guitar, and it's that same lineup that all those years ago I started out with. But I really love it. It's so nice and easy to maneuver with, and just great to, a lot of dynamics in the music and songs. And tomorrow we're going to have Kevin Vallely on piano as well, who's on the record, so extra special. But yeah, we kind of I made some albums in the States when I was living out there. I made 2 of them here in Scotland, and the third one kind of half in Scotland and half in America. So it's kind of been, bits and pieces from, in fact, I think that one, my fourth one was recorded I was on tour a lot then, all around the place, and we did some of it in Australia, in Sydney, and some in Los Angeles, and then some of it in Glasgow and Edinburgh. So it was like
a mix of places, vibes, I guess.
It was just like, but we were on tour a lot, so we just kind of did bits in the different places that we went. It was really fun. So
That's, I never thought of it like that, where you would just record one thing in one place and
I know.
in another.
It was a wacky idea, but
As long as it worked, that's the main thing. So you mentioned the new album. What's it called?
It's called Shorelines.
Shorelines.
And we've got some lovely shorelines here in Stonehaven.
We certainly do. Yes. And I
beautiful.
believe it's about mainly focused around stories on women. Strong women who've overcome adversity, perhaps? Yeah,
so like I have a collection of songs that I suppose I wanted to have a theme for this album. And after the lockdown and everything, I young kids at home there during the lockdown, and I really appreciated the other women in my community that also were dealing with this and trying to cope with, having been traveling all my life and then suddenly not being able to and being home, and I had a young baby and a toddler at home and trying to navigate all of that. And I found great solace and support in other women in Ennis. And at the same time, at the back of my mind, Cathal McConnell, my great mentor in this life and pal, he'd always been giving me interesting songs, and a lot of them were from a female point of view. Cathal sings a lot of kind of female point of view traditional songs. And one year I asked him, could you give me a couple of songs where the things go well for the woman? Because, that's
not traditional.
I know. I was like, I just would like to have some kind of sense of, that things might go well, just in case life imitates art.
Yes, yes.
Just let's bring in a few hopeful vibes for the future. So that kind of was percolating at the back of my mind when I started putting Shorelines together. And so I started with the classic kind of abandoned woman by the seashore, and I can hear the seagulls here. It's she could be out there on the rock, wailing, and just like things are not going well. But at the end of that song, the opening song in the record, it's called Sally Sits Weeping. She gets up and goes out and decides to travel and follow her lover and go out on the ocean, and she's proactive. So there's kind of that movement towards the end of that song. I tried to continue that on through the record. So there's a kind of flow in, even though the songs are different, completely different songs, but they each have a female main character that in my mind, is the same woman who came from the start.
Right.
And she kind of travels through these different tragedies and trials and overcomes them and comes out the other side of it. So there's a kind of a flow to the record that was in my mind when I started doing it. So that's the idea behind this one.
Brilliant.
And I wrote new music to kind of illustrate her journey.
Yes. Okay. So there's another thought then. New music versus old or traditional. What's your view on that?
Somebody told me the other day that there was 11,200,000 and something tunes. And I said, well, now there's 11,200,009. I think it's great. Like, I mean, the tradition's always evolving, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's fun to make it personal and to create and to, I love, and I've always been interested in writing little tunes and creating just new sonic worlds. And in fact, I'm doing a concert next weekend with Liz Carroll, the great fiddler and composer. And she's so prolific, it's amazing. She's so inspiring to me because she's written so many interesting tunes and powerful tunes and curious and sort of, she's always developing as a writer and a composer, and she's an inspirational woman in music for myself. So delighted to be doing that with her now next week.
Fantastic. So, will there be copies of this album available tomorrow?
Yes.
At the concert?
Yes.
At Stonehaven Folk Festival?
I'm hoping to lighten that luggage a bit,
Oh, yes.
you know.
That's a very heavy case you've got.
It's
You must
very
have
heavy.
hundreds of CDs in there.
Yeah, we're going into the States now after this.
Yes, so straight after, tomorrow you're heading off to the States, yeah?
Yeah, so I'll be over there for 2 weeks and then back again, hopefully with a much lighter suitcase.
Are you teaching as well as
Yeah, I'll be
performing?
teaching and performing at the Swan and Noah gathering. It's a wonderful, talk about flutes, it's a great flute experience.
Okay.
There's a very strong flute following there. It's probably the main flute camp in America.
Right.
And it's in July. For all the fluters out there who want to do an American holiday, I can recommend this because it's in North Carolina in a beautiful college campus. Everything's on site. And there's 4 classes a day, but a lot of fluters, I do the morning class for intermediate advanced, and then they might have a practice period after that, and then they have Kevin Crawford in the afternoon, and then maybe another practice after that. So it's really cool because the tunes really are absorbed and learned and developed, and they sound great, and it's super fun. There's concerts and all kinds of crack in the evenings, and
Kevin's got a really natural style about him as well. In terms of, I did once have a workshop with Kevin, and he's just a delight. He's a lovely man.
Oh, he's great. He's a great teacher too.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of fun. So that's next week, and then the week after, it'll be my first visit to the Catskills Irish Arts Week.
Okay.
And that's in upstate New York. So
Right.
it's kind of the same idea, but I think it's a bit more spread out. But they have a lot of fantastic tutors, and there'll be a flute class and singing. I do singing in the afternoon, so
Brilliant.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're still playing the piano as well? Because I know
Not really. I mean, I have one in the house, but haven't really kept that up as much. But I do like just to tinker around on it now and again. Yeah. I always think maybe I'll have time and sometime to get back into it, but
one of these days.
I accompany the kids.
Okay. So what about the future then? What does the future hold?
I don't know. I just more of the same. I'd love to continue with Tara and Tony and see what happens with that trio, and hopefully do some nice concerts. It's very kind of I like playing with them. It's really solid, but kind of open to musical ideas. And I just like to do that. I'm always playing with I have a few other different bands that I play with and I enjoy. I'll be in Denmark in September with Himmerland. It's a world music band, and lovely, love that band, and it's a lot of fun. And then I'm making a song recording with my good friend and musical partner Eamon O'Leary.
Okay.
He's a singer, plays bouzouki and guitar, and he's from Dublin, but he lives in New York there.
Right.
So we're making a duo record in October.
Okay.
So that'll come out next year. So there's always a few different things on the boil. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I know you're wanting to get some practice in before the concert tomorrow night. So I just want to thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much
It's
for having
been
me.
Brilliant.
Great to
talking
chat to you.
And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the workshop and the concert tomorrow night.
Yoo-hoo! Me too.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Peter.
Bye for now. Okay.
Okay, this is the rolling wave jig. We were learning it in our class today. and we're beside the sea. So thought it would be nice to play a sea tune.